Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today for 1995's Dead Presidents, a movie directed and written by the Hughes brothers starring Larenz Tate, Bokeem Woodbine, and Chris Tucker.
I bet you ain't even smelt the pussy egg.
You two realize that soon we're gonna be out of school, right?
Ooh, sure.
In the spring of 1969, Larenz Tate, who plays Anthony Curtis, is about to graduate from high school. He has a job as a milkman, and he's also a numbers man for one of his favorite people, Kirby, who is played by Keith David and acts as a second father to him. We see Terrence Howard in the movie playing a character named Cowboy, who is sort of a pool shark and who bullies young Anthony, but he'll get his.
I take your money. Rack 'em, boy.
Looks like Cowboy is destroyed in pool and actually gets mad at Anthony. We see a bit of character development here with Cowboy making himself known as a bully and Kirby making himself known as a second dad to Anthony. In the end, he tells him that he's doing a great job for him, pays him for the numbers that he's running, and they take a little run. Kirby was the kind of guy who really didn't need any bodyguards.
Floor this motherfucker. Floor.
You see, Anthony? You be thankful you can go to City College on the financial aid program.
Marine Corps. I'm joining.
Marine Corps?
Yeah.
Now that's original.
You always said the Marines and fighting over in Korea made a man out of you.
Anthony says he wants to enlist in the Marine Corps like his father, but his family really doesn't support him. His brother is played by Isaiah Washington. Later on, they go over to a graduation party where we see Skip and Jose. Jose actually reveals that he's already been drafted as a 1A. Later on, Anthony's love of his life, Juanita, invites him over and they get an abrupt visit from her mother returning home.
Get out of my yard! Fuck you!
Fast forward to 1971 and Anthony is sent to Vietnam, leaving behind his middle-class family, his girlfriend Juanita, and small-time crook Kirby, who is like a second father. Anthony's close friend Skip, who was played by Chris Tucker, later joins Curtis's recon squad after flunking out of Hunter College, and his other friend Jose is drafted, so he's of course there as well. Once in Vietnam, Anthony and his squad lose several fellow Marines during combat and commit several atrocities of their own, such as executing enemy prisoners and beheading corpses of war for trophies. When Anthony returns to the Bronx in 1973 after 4 years of service, he finds returning to normal life impossible. He finds Skip, now an Agent Orange victim and a heroin addict. Jose is an amputee with a prosthetic hand and a pyromaniac. It seems Anthony has a lot of pride and it's just not what he expected.
So what's up with Joe, man? Is he working or what? Post office, you know, 3/4 gig, part-time. He gotta do what he gotta do. He got miles to feed, you know. Man, some shit got into me over there, man.
His family is anxious to hear about his war stories.
Well, Anthony, you're gonna have to tell us something now. You know, a lot of them boys went over there and got hooked on them drugs and stuff, you know?
Look, I was in a special unit out there.
Anthony arrives at Kirby's and sees his old friend Joe, who gives him a huge hug. We notice that he's now an amputee. He was a demolitionist in the army and also a pyromaniac and probably blew his own hand off, actually. He goes to talk to Kirby and he tells him that he's been looking for a job everywhere but can't seem to have any luck.
Come back and work for you.
What? Work for me?
Yeah, you know, running numbers.
Larenz Tate was only 20 years old at the time of this filming, and Menace to Society was the movie that he made right before this. It's kind of hard to believe that he was able to jump from that movie into such a serious role, because O-Dog was he was serious, but he was like a joke. The thing of it is that Larenz Tate is such a good actor, and he was only 20 years old at this time. There was nothing standing between him and mainstream stardom. It's kind of hard to believe that he never really got I feel like he never really got the stardom he deserved. Anthony returns and notices that his baby's mother has actually been dating a pimp the entire time he's been in the war, which he's not happy about, of course.
Cuddy, I want you to meet Anthony.
They get into a big argument once they get home because Cuddy tried to give her some money and he was wondering why he throws money in her face in the first place.
I used to see Cuddy. Is that what you want to hear?
Oh, Blood made that very clear to me.
He goes to Kirby's pool hall where he gets some revenge on Cowboy.
See, that's why I kicked his fucking ass when he was a little kid, man. My boss man, Cuddy, he used to tap that ass while you was opening arms.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Cowboy just deserved what he got so bad. It's like hard to be mad at Larenz Tate for punishing him that way. Basically, some PTSD comes out and Kirby and Jose end up having to pull Anthony off the guy before he kills him. He goes home. We see that Juanita is pregnant with a boy that Anthony hopes, and she tells him that he needs to stop drinking and get a better job. He didn't want to hear that. Anthony, Kirby, and Jose are riding around where the plan is revealed because Jose is a postman and he has an idea that involves robbing an armored truck. Hard to believe the Hughes brothers made this when they were only 21 years old.
Now, you sure that they pick up cash money?
Hey, cash money, bro. Like clockwork, once a month, and they stop by the post office before they make their final run to Washington, man. 4. 2 in the front and 1 in the back carry revolvers.
Anthony is having basically PTSD issues from what I can see, and he's really upset. He's thinking about needing money and also having nightmares about things that he did in the war and working at the butcher shop.
We need to talk.
Saul ends up closing the butcher shop and Anthony is laid off. After he leaves, he's really upset and he ends up taking a flyer from a black communist group member. He ends up going home where he runs into Cuddy, the last person he wanted to see, leaving Juanita's house. Anthony being a recon, he definitely made the right move in this situation, although he probably could have easily taken care of Cuddy with that gun that close to his face. I wouldn't have made a move either.
But the motherfucker ain't sniffing around here tossing money in your motherfucking face for nothing.
After Anthony gets into that argument with Juanita, he ends up going to the communist militant group meeting where he sees Delilah is hosting and he actually decides to tell her about his plan.
I got you, bro.
Relax. Man, I got to make some fucking bread. I got this plan to make some money. I want you to keep this shit to yourself.
Anthony, Kirby, Skip, Jose, and Delilah devise a plan to rob an armored car making a stop at the Noble Street Federal Reserve Bank of the Bronx. Anthony has the whole thing planned out as he is the mastermind as appointed by Kirby, but it seems that no one is really enjoying each other, and in turn they really don't like that Skip is a drug addict and they want to get another man who ends up being Cleon. Cleon ends up being the downfall of this entire group as far as I'm concerned. He's become a pastor after he was so deadly in Vietnam. It's just like, you have an identity crisis, man. The next day, the group strategically positioned themselves around the street armed with weapons and disguised with face paint, ready to ambush the truck. The plan goes awry when Cleon is approached by a beat officer who interferes with the robbery, leading to Kirby being shot in the arm and Skip killing the officer when Cleon freezes up in a role reversal to what happened to Skip and Cleon earlier. Because Menace to Society was the Hughes brothers' last film, this film was very compared to that movie for some odd reason. I really don't see why they're even considered equal in the beginning. This movie is about veterans who came home from Vietnam that weren't given the treatment that they deserved and in turn went out and took it for themselves. It has nothing to do with Menace to Society. The plan goes awry when Cleon is approached by a beat officer who interferes with the robbery, leading to Kirby being shot in the arm and Skip killing the officer when Cleon freezes up, in a role reversal to what happens to Skip and Cleon earlier at the war. Jose, who was a demolition expert in the army, plants an explosive device on the escaping truck to blow off the door, but instead it destroys the entire vehicle. Delilah saves Anthony's life by killing one of the guards. A second guard appears and gets into a shootout with Delilah. He shoots her multiple times and she is dead. As the group collects what cash they can from the burning wreckage, they flee and split up to escape the police. Jose gets cornered in an alley and an approaching police car runs into him and he's dead. So 2 people are lost.
Well, that's Uncle Sam for you, baby. Money to burn.
5 federal security. She's already gone. Do it.
Although the police are looking for him and everything, we see that Anthony and Skip are feeling a bit righteous, so they decide to give out Christmas toys to random kids jumping on a mattress. Cleon becomes a problem.
Y'all saying my man is going around handing out $100 bills and saying that God Almighty gave it to him?
That's yours, motherfucking punk ass friend.
Kirby never liked that guy anyway. He never knew him as a savage as he was in Vietnam, so Skip and Anthony sort of have feelings towards him, but we can see that by Cleon taking that pen, he was making a confession. Now we see Skip has definitely took himself out of there. One of the saddest parts of the movie.
All we gotta do, boy, is make it to Mexico.
Kirby and Anthony are trying to make a run for it, but the police raid Kirby's pool hall. I'm glad they didn't shoot. It's only 1973 after all.
In fact, one of those medals was the Silver Star for valor.
And I served my country proudly in World War II, a real war, I may add.
I do hereby sentence you to the custody of the Attorney General of the United States for a period of 15 years to life.
Judge Martin Sheen wasn't kidding around, and Anthony thought that because he was in the war, he didn't deserve life. He definitely had morals. It's hard to believe he did that. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Antonio's Movie Reviews. Don't forget to subscribe.